going on, TU crew, and welcome back to the Totally Unqualified Podcast. This is episode 44, and unfortunately, we are going to be out without Jake this time. It is just me and Luke, but that's fine. We'll make it through. We've done it before. Luke, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. It's just so funny to me. All three of us have missed at least one episode of this podcast. And if that isn't the most totally unqualified thing you've ever heard, our own podcast, then I don't know what is. I'm doing great, Gage. I did some holiday shopping today, and I'm ready to chop it up with you. We got some big news to talk about today.
For sure. There is a lot going on. But before we get into that, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or watching us on YouTube, be sure to leave a rate and review. Be sure to like the episode, subscribe, ring the bell, all that fun stuff. We very much appreciate it. And it helps push the podcast out to so many more people so that we can continue to build this fantastic community that we have. And before we get into our actual topics, we're not going to do Guess That Player, obviously, because there's only the two of us this time. It wouldn't be fair to Jake. But I do have some trivia questions for you. And I don't just have like typical, like regular NFL, like broad questions. I'm going to test you on your Packers knowledge.
See, this is so screwed up because Jake did the same exact thing last time, the episode that you weren't able to come for. And really? I looked like an idiot. But I'm ready. I'm ready to look like an idiot again.
I think you'll be okay. I don't think these are too hard. I tried to make it, somewhat simple.
But before we get into that, I just want to flex this helmet that I got. It's a couple of weeks ago now, but I haven't gotten a chance to show it on the podcast yet. So new helmet.
Is pretty. Yeah, that's nice. I like it.
All right. Hit me with it.
All right. Okay. The first question. Who was the sack leader of the Green Bay Packers for the 2010 season?
2010? It seems like it's going to be Clay Matthews, but it almost is too obvious. I'm just going to go with Clay Matthews.
It is Clay Matthews.
Okay.
He was only in his second season and led the team with 13 and a half sacks, which is pretty crazy because there were some big names on that defense at the time between, AJ Hawk was a big name for them, Charles Woodson, and he managed to beat out those guys still.
Yeah. His prime, it was a little bit short-lived, and it kind of ended when the Packers didn't have a single middle linebacker. So they decided to move their best edge rusher to the middle of the field, which was, just perfect sense. Oh my God.
Yeah. All right. Next up, this is the one that might be a little bit tricky for you. In 1996, Brett Favre set the all-time record for passing touchdowns in a season with 39. Who held the record prior to him?
Oh, 39.
Or prior to that season, I guess.
I'm going to go. This might be out of left field. I'm going to go Fran Tarkenton.
That is incorrect. And I went with a trick question here because the record holder previous to him was him. He held the record he held the record with 38 passing touchdowns prior to that and then broke it in the 1996 season.
It's so wild because 38 is like a decent season nowadays. It's like, you had an above average season. You see quarterbacks throwing 45.
How much players pass. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at Tom Brady and those guys now, and several of them are probably going to hit that mark this season, which is just insane.
Yeah.
And then another quarterback question. This one is about your guy, Aaron Rodgers. In the 2011 season, he set the record for the highest passer rating in a season of all time. What was that passer rating?
110. I believe it's 110.
You're a little low.
I'm a little low. Oh, shoot. Passer rating. A little low. So am I within 10?
Not quite. A little larger of a gap.
I'm going to go with 124.3.
You're just over the mark. It was 122.5.
Damn.
Highest pass rating of all time.
Damn. Maybe it was 110 last year. 110 might have been last year.
Yeah, it was up there again last year.
Yeah.
But needless to say, the Packers have had some good quarterbacks based on those last two questions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and they got another one coming in J Love, Air Jordan.
Oh, okay. the little Chiefs preview that we got this season. Do you want to hit me with that?
Oh, yeah. I got some questions for you, too. Hey, sorry guys, we
Okay.
got mixed up before the we started the show, and I thought I was doing trivia. I got 3 questions. I'm gonna narrow it down to 2, and to stay on this this quarterback train that we're on. This quarterback just recorded his 10th straight 100 plus passer rating game against a division rival, setting a new NFL record. Who is that quarterback?
10th straight.
10th straight
against a division rival. Oh, I'm like trying to think through all of the in-division games this past week. Oh, maybe. Is it Justin Herbert?
It is not. It's Aaron Rodgers.
Oh,
I was gonna say to stick on the same page as the Packers, but then I would have given it away. It's funny that you did the Packers trivia and I had that one. All right, last one, real quick. Okay. Amani Oruwariye is 3rd in the league right now, or is tied for 3rd in the league with 5 interceptions. Spell Amani Oruwariye.
Like the whole name, first name,
the whole name, Amani Oruwariye. I have it written down right here.
I'm probably gonna fuck it up on the first name. Amani. The first name. Oruwariye.
It's a cool name to say. It kind of like it doesn't quite roll off the tongue, but Oruwariye.
O. W. R. U. A. R. I.
Is that it?
E.
No, that was dead wrong. You got Amani right. It's Oruwariye. Oruwariye. Okay. Yeah, weird one. Good player though. Hell of a player.
Hell of a name.
Hell of a name, and he's having hell of a season. Yeah.
All right, and with that, that's going to wrap it up for trivia. After we didn't do too bad. We did decent. I mean, I didn't get any of my questions right, but we'll just ignore that.
Listen, it's better than listing off every number 1 overall pick, because that had us in the dumps. That was so bad.
Yeah, we just need to not talk about that ever again.
Never
just
again.
Wipe it from the memories of everyone, please.
Yes, please.
And speaking of wiping that from the memories of everyone, I think I speak on behalf of Jaguars fans when I say that they want to be wiped clean of Urban Meyer right now.
Yes.
And they are. He's been fired. He is finally gone, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that not just on behalf of Jaguars fans, but on behalf of all NFL fans, good riddance. We're happy to see him go.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that?
Good riddance is right. I mean, the guy had no place to get that job in the first place. Like, he had no right getting that job coming from a media job on Fox. Before that, obviously he has the great tenure with Ohio State, all the Big Ten championships. It's kind of like glaring at your eye, his past with Ohio State, but that doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to translate to the NFL. Just look at Nick Saban, possibly the greatest college head coach of all time. Maybe not even possibly. It's probably a fact at this point.
Yeah.
He couldn't make it with the Dolphins. I think he went 11-18, I want to say, or something like within like 2-3 years.
Something like that. Very short-lived, losing record, all that.
Yeah. Wasn't able to get it done. This is a different scenario though. Urban Meyer is genuinely just a bad person. And it's so weird because this firing had nothing to do with their record. Absolutely nothing to do with their record, because you knew going into the season there were going to be some struggles with Trevor Lawrence adjusting to the NFL, and you just have a really young, inexperienced team. So you knew you were probably going to be around 2-11, right? If there were no off the field issues with Urban Meyer, he would still be the head coach right now. And honestly, he probably wouldn't have been in any drama. Nobody would be talking about him right now, but he continued to put himself in bad positions, and he's supposed to be the leader of that football team. You can't lose a game in Cincinnati and then not fly back with the team. You're supposed to be the one that dies with the ship. You are the leader of all of these men, and you weren't able to do that. these aren't college kids anymore. These are grown ass men with families trying to put food on their tables. And you don't even have, as much respect for them to just fly on the plane back to your fucking stadium, back to Jacksonville. It's absurd. And then with the whole Josh Lambo thing, I made a TikTok about it. It's kind of funny to poke fun at. Like he's a better kicker than Josh Lambo was for the Jags. You don't do that. And had that been Josh Allen, if that was Josh Allen and he kicked Josh Allen, the defender Josh Allen, not Josh Allen of the Bills, he would get his ass beat. There's no question in my mind.
Yeah, 100%.
No question in my mind.
What I thought about that, or what I thought about when I heard that situation or whatever about him kicking Josh Lambo and everything, it's like, yeah. I mean, you do that to the wrong guy and it's not going to go well. I don't know if you remember several years back. I mean, this has been a while ago when Martellus Bennett was on the Bears.
Yeah.
And he got grabbed by the face mask and he picked, I think it was Kyle Fuller. It was one of the backs.
Yeah.
And he picked him up and slammed him on the ground. And he said, Brandon Marshall came up to him and he was like, "What are you doing? We need him." And he was like, "Well, you need me too." And Brandon Marshall goes, "I'm a 6-time Pro Bowler." And he says, "Well, 6-time Pro Bowlers can get knocked out too."
Yep.
That's what I thought about when I heard that, because Urban Meyer apparently said to Josh Lambo, "I'm the head coach of the football team. I can kick you whenever I want." Well, head coaches of the football team can get knocked the fuck out too, Urban Meyer. So, but we see how this situation played out. You hit it on the nose when you said, like, if it weren't for all the off the field stuff, if it weren't for all the drama that came along with it, I think he would have been fine. He may have been able to stick around for a couple of years or whatever, try to figure it out and try to get this team going. But because of just everything that came along with it, even starting in the offseason with the Tim Tebow bullshit, and then everything with the whole Cincinnati situation, and then just as of recently calling all of his assistant coaches losers and this and that, and saying that he's a winner. It's just been a bunch of nonsense. The guy's very clearly full of himself. He thinks his shit doesn't stink. And I don't know. Good. Like I said, good riddance. Glad to see him go.
Good riddance. And I think you can't, I mean, they're the owner. You can't really do anything, but Shad Khan needs to be put into question as well. He said, when in regards to the whole Urban Meyer drama before he fired him, actually, he was like, "Oh, we have a certain way of doing things. We want to make sure that we make the right decision. We've had coaches in the past. We've had Doug Marrone here for 4 years. We've had Gus Bradley here for 4 years. Why are you bragging about hiring shit coaches? Why is that? Why is that a measure? Around. Yeah. Why is that a measure for keeping Urban Meyer longer than he should have been there in the first place? That's absurd. Good riddance is right. Shad Khan finally made the right decision, but some of his choices need to be put into question, because Jacksonville, they had an AFC championship team not too long ago. Not too long. 2017. Yeah, that was 4 years ago. Their team should not have fallen apart the way that it did. But you know what? I like Darrell Bevell. I think he's going to do good. He looks like the type of guy that's not going to create drama, the complete opposite of Urban Meyer, the type of guy that's going to be able to let, Trevor Lawrence prosper a little bit in this offense.
Yeah, he doesn't. I mean, I don't know the guy, obviously, but he doesn't really seem to have that ego that Urban Meyer does. He seems very down to earth, and he's got experience. He's been in the league for a while. I think he's got a better record as an interim coach right now than Urban Meyer had with the Jaguars, which is like ridiculous. But yeah, I think that he'll be fine for the team. I don't know that he's gonna, bring them to any higher level or anything like that. If nothing else, I will just be happy that James Robinson is likely going to get more touches. Fucking get Carlos Hyde off the field. I'm cussing like a sailor in this episode. I apologize for any
totally unqualified
listening at home.
Yeah, my grandpa.
But yeah, James Robinson, please keep him on the field. The guy is great. He's able to excel if you put him on the field, keep him on the field. So I'm really, and for my fantasy team, I'm hoping that he's able to stay out there.
Yes. I want to see Trevor Lawrence actually do something, and he was not going to be able to do something with all that drama with Urban Meyer. Like, it just wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to work out. And I don't know how they didn't see that from the very start,
Yeah. When literally everybody else did.
Do want to shout out Jake though, because Jake did say that he was going to get fired like as soon as he got hired in the first place. As soon as he got hired, Jake was on that. He was like, yeah, he's not going to last the full season. Shout out Jake. Wish you were here, Jake. What the F What the F, Jake?
Yeah. Come on, Jake. Just abandoning us. I feel like an orphan or something.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Me too.
But we're going to go ahead and move on from that. But prior to getting into our next segment, I did just want to say real quick, the Overtime app, we have pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. We are just hammering it into your heads at this point if you've listened before, but that's for good reason. The Overtime app is fantastic. It is a great app. It's sports meets social media, like we've said time and time again. And our Overtime fantasy game for this week actually just opened up earlier today. So be sure to get in on that. It's going to be open while you're listening to this episode. So, and the prize for this week is an NFL jersey of your choice. Whoever you want. NFL jersey Overtime is going to set you up if you're able to win. So get in there, pick your team, and we are more than excited to compete with you.
Yeah, and shout out to Landon and Connor who won last week's prize of a $100 Amazon gift card. Now, Gage, if you win this game, if you win this fantasy pool, whose jersey are you getting?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know. I want to build. I have this idea to build a jersey collection. I'm not one of those guys that I feel like I need to just stick with my team. But I will say there's a lot of guys on the Saints right now that I probably need to cop their jersey while I'm able to. I think I would go DeMario Davis.
Yeah. I think I'm in the market of buying. I'm about to buy a jersey. I think I want to buy a Jair Alexander jersey pretty soon. I just haven't been able to find the throwback online. I think I'm also going to try and start my jersey collection. And I think the first person I'm going to get away from the Packers, I have an Adrian Peterson jersey. So that's my real first one. But the first jersey is going to be Justin Herbert. I think he's great.
There you go.
That Thursday game. Oh my gosh. He was
electric.
That was an electric game. I'm
100%.
I'm excited. Dude, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes for the next 10 years. Oh, sign me up, please.
Yes. And we've talked about it before. That Chargers team is it's super close to being able to contend every single year if they can just get a couple more pieces. I don't know if you saw the stat from yesterday where Travis Kelce's stats when Derwin James was on the field to when he wasn't on the field. It was 26 snaps that he was on the field, and Travis Kelce had a catch for 14 yards, and that was it. And then when he was off the field, he had 9 catches for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns or something. So that just goes to show they've got some talent on that team. They just got to get a few more pieces and they'll be good to go.
Yeah. Travis Kelce play of the year. I don't want to hear it. I think that was the best play I've seen all season long.
He was just running around, guys.
You know what makes me sick too? You know what makes me sick? I'm in a losers bracket for my fantasy league for my college guys and I. Yeah. And the loser has to jump into a lake, right? Straight hypothermia in the veins, everything, right? And of course I'm going up against Travis Kelce. Of course. 42-point bomb that.
Dude, I feel your pain.
Yep.
Listen, I don't even know how he acquired these players, right? I don't know how this happened, but I'm the 2 seed or something in one of my leagues, a league that I'm doing pretty well in, in the legit playoffs, not even the loser bracket. And I'm going up against this guy. He's got Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce on his team. There's been 1 game so far this week, and I am down 103-0.
So absurd. So absurd.
I'm completely screwed.
That's 250 easy. That's wild.
But it is what it is. It sucks. It's awesome to see the Chiefs pick it back up, like we've talked about a bunch of times as well. They're doing crazy good, especially the defense now.
Yeah.
But yeah. Moving on though, there's some not so good things going on in the NFL right now with this COVID outbreak that has just come out of nowhere. There are tons and tons of players being put on the COVID list. It seems like every single day now. And the teams with the most right now are the Rams with 25 players on the COVID list. The Browns have 23. And then the Washington football team also has 23. And just to give some insight on what that means for those teams, the Rams are without most of their team, obviously. They don't have big names like Odell. Jalen Ramsey was out last game. I believe he may be out this week as well. And then the Washington football team, they're without Taylor Heineke. They don't have the backup Kyle Allen. So they're down to Garrett Gilbert at quarterback. And the Browns had Baker Mayfield and Case Keenum go out. So they're down to none other than 49ers legend, Nick Mullins.
Oh man, I saw you tweet about Nick Mullins the other day.
You saw that?
Yeah.
It's a real stat though. It's for real, which is absolutely insane. For those listening, he actually leads the 49ers all time in yards per game.
How many starts did he? Like, I feel like he started a lot in that. I think it was that 2018 season.
Last year when they were injured really bad. I think he started. I mean, like most of the season.
Because
So
I remember
he had a couple decent games. He lit a couple teams up.
I think the year before their Super Bowl run is the year that him and CJ Beathard just kept going back and forth between starts.
Yeah.
So might maybe then, I don't know. But yeah, it's a tough situation just overall. And it's happening at the worst time, man. Week 15, like we're about to head into playoffs and we're 3 weeks away from the playoffs, which by the way, no, 4 weeks. Yeah, 4 weeks. It's sickening. I hate it. I love football, but I don't want it to end. It's wild, crazy. The season has gone by so fast, but the NFL did what it needed to do. It was interesting that they said that they weren't before the season. The NFL said that they weren't gonna, maneuver games around, and if you weren't able to reschedule the game in the same week, then you would have to forfeit it and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's back and forth, right? You need to do this because you're going to lose out on a lot of money. If you're the NFL, you're going to lose out a lot of money for your star players not playing. AKA Baker Mayfield, right? Baker Mayfield is a big draw for as mediocre as he is, right? The other side of it is players now. I think I saw a bunch of Seahawks players actually on Twitter just now. I think Quandre Diggs and some other people, they were complaining that now that their game is moved to Tuesday, they only have a 3-4 night turnaround to play again next time they play is on Sunday, right? I don't really see it from that side. Like I get you're upset about it because it's negatively affecting your team, but in the grander scheme of things, how could you get mad at this? Like, oh man, now we have to go up against their starters. Shits, like,
yeah, and even so, I mean, it's gonna sound weird when I say it, but if it were to happen, if an outbreak were to happen, this is the way for it to happen, like the right way, because with all of these teams dealing with it right now at the same time and everything, one, after we move past this week, I think that it'll start to die down quite a bit. And two, if you just have like a team here and a team there that's dealing with it, you have 2 or 3 teams that are losing out big on a week because they're probably going to have to forfeit or whatever the case may be. And then everybody else just plays and goes on about their business. So it could really affect the team, especially when we're getting into a point where these are the games that matter, especially for teams that are in the hunt right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it sucks. I would much rather, them just delay some games and just have to shut down the entire season, which is another thing that players need to think about. Like you were talking about with the Seahawks, like it's either they delay a game by a few days and you have a short turnaround, or they might just have to cancel the entire season if it goes the wrong way.
Like if it were the other way around and the Seahawks were the ones that were experiencing the outbreak in their facility, you can't, it can't be both ways. You can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? I do want to say I'm crossing my fingers and knocking on wood that this doesn't happen, but I can legitimately envision, within the next couple of weeks, stadiums start to limit capacity for fans. Once again, you're already seeing it in Canada. A bunch of arenas. I know that the Raptors Scotiabank Arena, they're limiting their capacity to 50%. So you very well could see this happen with NFL stadiums with the new Omicron variant. Oh my gosh, it's been almost 2 years with this, man.
Just variants.
It never ends.
Feels like every 6 months we got a new variant coming out.
It's ridiculous. It sucks.
It's like
I hope
iPhone.
It right. It's happening so quickly. I just hope that this is the only. Obviously, I hope this is the only outbreak that the NFL experiences. But if this leaks into the playoffs, it's going to be really bad, and this could end up costing a team, a game.
Yeah, I think best case scenario is that this week happens the way it happens, and then going forward, a lot of players, will have that. What is it, like 90-day? Maybe shorter than that, something like that, immunity basically, because they had it. So hopefully it doesn't spread as much. Hopefully these players and stuff are isolating the way that they should be, and it doesn't end up being a bigger issue going forward. Even so, if it does, like, hopefully we can at least get to the playoffs. And hell, I mean, if we've got to maybe a bubble type situation like the NBA did or something like that, But I hope and pray that we are able to make it through the rest of the season at least.
Yeah, I hate thinking about it, man. It's just the worst possible thing to happen right now is every team is experiencing it. And it's pretty much like every team, like maybe give or take a few.
Some teams, I mean, it's just a couple players here and there, but it's like every single team at least has a few players on their lists right now. And we see these teams with a lot, like I mentioned, the Rams, the Browns, Washington, with like 20 plus players. There's still teams. I mean, there's teams that have like 7 players out, and that's a lot still, especially if it's starters. That's a big hit for them. Yeah. This week is going to be probably not great for football, honestly, just because we're going to have so many second and third string guys playing, but it'll make it interesting at least, I guess. And I mean, this isn't just happening in the NFL either. It's happening in the NBA as well. But we've already talked about the bad news of COVID, so let's get into some good news with the NBA.
Sorry for the interruption, but I come bearing a message from our good friends at Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in men's under-the-waist grooming, and they offer precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. And Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. That's right, the 4.0. Manscaped engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and an incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4,000 LED spotlight when needed for a more precise shave. To all my guys out there, if you're not using Manscaped, well, you're doing it wrong. And that's why the Totally Unqualified guys and I have partnered with Manscaped to bring you guys an exclusive offer of 20% off and free worldwide shipping using code TUCREW in checkout on manscaped.com. That is code TUCREW on manscaped.com. Save yourself 20% off and free shipping worldwide. Your balls will thank you. Now back to the regular scheduled program.
And that is Steph Curry has broken the all-time three-point record. He has passed up Ray Allen. Ray Allen had 2,973 three-pointers made in about like a little over 1,300 games. Steph Curry has passed him in a little over 700 games, which is just insane.
Yeah. I just saw a stat earlier that the next 5 years, if Steph Curry were to play, which he's going to play 5 years, he's projected to go over, I think, just a little bit over 4,700 career threes, 4,720 something, which is ridiculous. But I think what's even more ridiculous is I think he's going to play more than just 5 years. I genuinely could see. Yeah. With the new modern day medicine and the modern day treatment and how these athletes are taking care of their bodies, Steph Curry is no exception. Like, he could legitimately play till he's 40. Obviously, once he gets older, he's going to lose his mobility and he's probably going to become more of a spot up shooter. But I'd take Steph Curry as a spot up shooter. 40-year-old Steph Curry, give me him as a spot up shooter any day. Like, are you kidding me? He's going to find a role.
I've been saying it for years that Steph Curry is going to be on the Hornets, come to his hometown team when he does get to that point, when he loses his mobility or whatever, and be a spot up shooter or whatever. Even when it happens at some point, I don't care how old and decrepit he is. I don't care if he's got gray hairs or whatever the case may be. You can bet on me copying a Steph Curry jersey 100%.
Could you imagine him and LaMelo? That'd be stupid. That'd be so stupid.
That would be insane. I don't see him leaving Golden State, not anytime soon anyway. He would definitely have to get to that point where he can't perform quite as well.
I think he's a for lifer, man. I think he's a Mike Trout. So. I think he's a for lifer. I think he's gonna stick it out in Golden State. Yeah, I mean, the guy who literally changed the game of basketball. He means so much to that team.
I mean, you're talking about like with the pace that he's on and everything and how many 3-pointers made that they think he'll get to. It is very, very, and I'm sure people said the same thing about like Ray Allen or whatever. It is very, very difficult to see somebody ever breaking his record, whatever it ends up being by the end of his career. Yeah. Because like you were saying, I think he has a lot of career left. So to think that anybody could be a better or more consistent shooter than he's been over the course of his career is insanity.
Yeah. I mean, how many, it was 47, 94 or no? No. It was 2794, right? What was the one that he broke? It was 2794.
2973 was Ray Allen.
Okay, so 2974 is now. Yeah. And the fact that he did it in Madison Square Garden too. Like, if you weren't going to be able to do it in what is it called? The Chase Bank Arena now. If you weren't going to be able to do it there, I mean, the next best place is the Mecca of the world is Madison Square Garden, right? And it's cool because Knicks fans, you see it bing bong, you see it all over TikTok. Like, they're not the most welcoming of fan bases. Trae Young definitely knows that firsthand. The Garden did it right. The Knicks fans did it right. They celebrated him like he was their own. And honestly, like, just as a basketball fan, how could you not love Steph Curry? I mean, the babyface assassin, we've watched this guy grow from his days at Davidson, not thinking that he was going to be much, and he comes in and obviously has the unanimous MVP, has the back-to-back championships. His legacy is complete in my eyes, and it's only going to grow further from here. I don't know if there's ever been a more likable superstar I almost said the NFL, in the NBA than Steph Curry. Do you think so?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think there's those guys that are like better per se, or like better all time, whatever. We have the MJ and the LeBron and all those, but those guys were very very polarizing figures, where it's either you love them or you hate them, and there's not really an in between. But Steph Curry isn't like that. He's the guy that, I loved to hate him, so to speak, during the whole Cavs versus Warriors rivalry. I was on the Cavs side of things. I think we've talked about this in a previous episode.
Yeah.
But I'm at the point now especially with all that behind us, and they're not going to the finals back to back years or anything crazy like that anymore. Steph Curry's a very likable guy. There's nothing really to hate about him. He's not in controversy. He goes out and plays the game. He very clearly loves the game. And like you said, he revolutionized the sport. He changed what it is and the way it's played. And it's become a lot more exciting over the years that he's been in the NBA. So yeah, very likable guy. I don't see how anybody could say that they hate Steph Curry.
You can't. And I feel like people hated Steph Curry this very same reason that they started to hate LeBron James. And that's because LeBron was in it every single year. His days with the Heat every single year. They were the clear favorites. So obviously you're going to, hate the team that's the best. It's the same reason Tom Brady and the Patriots get hate. It's because they're there every single year.
Nick Saban in Alabama. And
exactly.
It's that effect. If you're winning, people are going to hate you. That's just the way it is.
Exactly. And I know for me too, I'm not going to say that I've hated Steph. I've never hated Stephen Curry. Right. But I was never the biggest fan of his, because at the time I'm growing up, I'm seeing him in the finals for 5 straight seasons. It's like, oh my God, like I need to see something different. It's very recent, until I'd say KD left the Warriors, that you were truly able to appreciate Stephen Curry for what he is, what he was, what he's going to be. And that's the greatest shooter of all time. And we've kind of given him that mark years ago. Like we've already said, like, once he hits Ray Allen's record, it's never going to be like if he hits Ray Allen's, it's once he hits Ray Allen's. Yeah. When he does it, we knew that he was going to be the greatest years ago. And honestly, he has a teammate that's probably right there behind him. If not probably behind Ray Allen as the greatest shooter. It's crazy. It's crazy. I saw a video of Mark Jackson saying, I think it was 2013, that he had the greatest shooting backcourt in NBA history. And Sports Center actually tweeted it, they put it on their Instagram a couple of days ago. All of the replies to that video, they were like, "What are you saying? The greatest ever?" No, it's Rippin. It's Rip Hamilton, and I can't remember, Chauncey Billups. They were like, "Yeah, that's the greatest shooting." No, Mark Jackson knew it from the start, and now we're just reaping what we sowed. And it's honestly, it's indescribable how good they are as a duo.
Yeah, and you just can't deny it at this point. We have been proven wrong if you felt that way back then, or they've just gone out and done it every single year. Speaking of Klay Thompson, I saw earlier today, he is set to come back in January, they believe. They think that he's on the right timeline to get back then, which is even crazier. Thinking about this Warriors team and where they're at now, I think they're kicking the shit out of the Celtics as we speak. So to think of how good they've been this season, not even having Klay and James Wiseman on the court, it's been crazy. And obviously a lot of that credit goes to Steph Curry, but a lot of the players around him have been playing very well also. We've got Andrew Wiggins, who has stepped up in a big way and has been shooting a lot better. He's been a big player on offense for them. Draymond Green is always going to be Draymond Green, one of the best defensive players in the NBA, whether people like to admit it or not. So this team is good and only going to get better.
There's so many similarities between this and the 73-9 team. Like there's so many similarities. Like you had Sean Livingston back then. Now you have Jordan Poole, who's just going off, and you still had Draymond back then, but now he's just way more experienced, way better at facilitating an offense, and just a better leader overall. He's not kicking Steven Adams in the balls anymore. I'm glad that Draymond is kind of having his redemption tour, it seems like, because he hasn't really been getting into any drama recently, and you started respecting.
He wasn't a guy that I loved to hate. He was the guy that I just hated back then, because he came across like that very dirty player with kicking guys and all that stuff. But I've really come around to Draymond Green. I still tend not to listen when he does a whole lot of this, because he does still talk that talk, but he's a great player. I mean, you just can't deny that at this point. He's a great defensive player, and he's a big role player on that team. Now, I think if you put him anywhere else, it might not be the same story. We might not be talking about him quite as much, but he's definitely, I mean, his legacy is going to be cemented just as much as a guy like Steph or Clay or whoever on that team.
All right. So Gage, with his new record, which is going to go up over 4,000, might even hit 5,000 at some point, I need you to list me 2 players who they might not even have a chance, but who you think could maybe have the slimmest chance of breaking Steph's record when it's all said and done. 2 players.
Oh man.
Because I got one in mind, and I guess I'll start this one off.
Okay.
And he's a player that I didn't even think was a great shooter coming out of the draft, and that's Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards just hit 10 threes the other night, and he's just shooting them at a ridiculous pace now. And it's so crazy because I think Anthony Edwards is what every fan wishes Russell Westbrook would have been. Like he's so explosive at the point of attack, attacking the rim, but he could also shoot. Russell Westbrook can't really shoot, but he's better at laying the ball around, right? So it's give and take, and obviously Russ is a better defender, but Anthony Edwards, I think, is close. Next one, me. I think you give me, listen, I don't know if you've seen me shoot a ball, but listen, I could stroke that thing, bro. Pause. Big pause. I could listen. Put me in a 3-point contest with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kyle Korver, Ray Allen, Chris Middleton, whoever you want. Reggie Miller. I'm not coming in last. I'll tell you what. I'm not coming in last. I'm not coming in first. It'll probably be Steph, probably be Ray Allen. I don't know. Do you remember that going way off topic here? Do you remember when Stephen Curry lost? I think this was the Charlotte All-Star game, so I want to say this was like 2019 or somewhere around there. He lost in the 3-point contest, and he was the final 2 against Joe Harris in his hometown. He lost.
Yeah. I also remember, this has been, a long time ago now. He lost to Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson won the 3-point contest over him one year, and everybody was like, what the hell? Like, this is Steph Curry. But I actually called that. My take way back then, I was like, you know what? Klay Thompson is going to win it. I'm going to take the underdog here. And he did. So I'm just going to toot my own horn a little bit there. Hey. But getting back on topic, as far as players that could potentially break the record, man, that's so tough. Like, because I mean, for one, I don't think there's any, of course. But if I had to name some,
I feel like they're not in the league. I feel like that player that might eventually, they're not there yet.
Yeah, we don't know who they are yet. Because there's some great like 3-point shooters and stuff in the league right now, but there aren't any that are like that, that level where I think that they could get to that point. Or if they are great 3-point shooters, they're a little bit on the older side. So I feel like they're too late to hit that stride and all of a sudden get to that mark.
I feel like a lot of people would automatically think Trae Young just because of his 3-point antics, but I don't think I don't know if he's going to hit at a consistent pace throughout his career, because even right now, like he'll shoot crazy deep, but he's not a consistent 3-point shooter.
Yeah, he's been better offensively this year, but he is more of a facilitator and stuff as well. I don't think that his go-to is to shoot the 3 ball. But yeah, he was one of my first thoughts. And then if I remember correctly, I think that Donovan Mitchell shoots pretty well. So maybe him, but I don't think he shoots from three super often either.
It's got to be a guy whose
mean,
game is predominantly 3-pointers,
Yep.
Maybe like,
I guess that just for me, I think leaves Jonas Valanciunas. I
I fucking love it. I love it. I love it. Is he still leading? He can't be leading the 3-point percentage anymore.
I did see that the other night he was still hit for like 50+% or something like that.
Where was this when he was with the Raptors? That's what I want to know. Where was this?
I don't know, man.
Come on, JV.
I have no idea.
JV.
Speaking of the Raptors, how are you guys doing? I haven't kept a whole lot of tabs on you guys. I've heard about you here and there.
It's not looking great. They just seem like a very mediocre team. That's probably not going to make the playoffs.
Worst, but not like
like they'll give a team. They look like a veteran team, but just not a very good team, if you know what I mean. Nick Nurse, like he's kind of pissed. He's kind of making me mad with some of his defensive rotations or just some of his adjustments in general. Not putting Kem Birch in a lot of the time, instead sticking with Chris Boucher. If you know me, I'm a huge Chris Boucher guy. I wouldn't be opposed to trading him. Wink, wink, Masai. But no, I think the Raptors are building for the future. Obviously, I think Gary Trent has shown some promise. Fred VanVleet is having his best season, I think. Pascal Siakam is definitely there. Kyle Lowry definitely is not. Oh, it's tough. It's the dog days. But we did give the Nets a run for their money. Took them to overtime the other night. So
I've seen you guys are competing at least. I mean, you're not like getting blown out or anything like that. I do want to ask, do you think, honestly, I know there's gonna be a little bit of bias to it. Do you think with Kyle Lowry still on the team, if he didn't go to the Heat this year, how much better are you guys as a team? Do you think that he at least makes you playoff contenders?
I think so. I think so, because I just think the team just works better with Kyle. Because right now it's a lot of Freddie. Whereas Kyle wouldn't so much make the offense predominantly about him. Freddie is kind of like the only guy that could score now. And then also this pushes Gary Trent to the bench, where I think he's better suited right now in this point of his career. And they don't have a lot of bench guys that can, score 15, 18 points a game. Do I think they'd be a playoff team? Probably, maybe like an 8-7 seed, maybe a 6 seed. But I don't know. The East is tough this year. East is the better conference, in all honesty.
Which is weird. We haven't seen that in quite a while, so it feels kind of odd. But yeah, I would have to agree with that. The West has been very odd. Speaking of the West, did you see that Danny Ainge got hired as basketball operations?
I
thought he was done.
I thought he was done too, but they got a weird group of people there. And I know they got D Wade there. I think that's the only guy that I know. And I think Zaire Wade is on their G League affiliate as well, which is pretty cool.
I think you're right. I'm pretty sure that is.
The Jazz, I mean, I don't know if they're ever really going to be that team to push another team towards the Western Conference Finals to make a real finals push. But they're top of the West right now. I don't think they're the number one seed, but they're right up there in contention with the Suns and the Warriors. So I'm excited.
It's weird. It's like they have the tools, but they can't quite. And I don't know what they need. You know what I mean? I don't know what they're missing, because it feels like they have a lot of the pieces that they need. They've even got, Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench, and he shows out and stuff too. So it's not like you don't have depth or anything either.
I think they're the deepest team. I think they're the deepest team right now.
Yeah, which is what you need. But I don't know. As far as a playoff run, it feels like some injuries and stuff are going to have to go their way for them to really make a run, if they make a run.
I think if for the Jazz to make a run, Donovan Mitchell is going to have to be the best player on the court at all times. And I think he has the potential to do that. Like even up against a Steph Curry, a Devin Booker, a Chris Paul. Like I think Donovan could do that. Where I think the Jazz are lacking right now is someone beside Spida Donovan Mitchell. Like Mike Conley works on that team, but he's not that huge scoring threat that you need. He's not going to be putting up 20 points a game. Like he made the All-Star team, I think, last year on some players not or opting out or getting sick or whatever, or injured. I mean, but I don't know. I don't think Mike Conley's the guy to get them over the top, but I think he's definitely serviceable. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, he was really solid with the Grizzlies when he was with them.
Yeah.
But he's a little bit older now, and making the move to the Jazz. He's been good, but he hasn't been. I don't know. It feels almost like, and I'm not saying. I don't know. I will say it. I think that Donovan Mitchell is kind of up there as one of the better guards in the league. I don't know that he's quite like Damian Lillard level, but that situation to me, that backcourt to me, feels a lot like Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. That's Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley for them. Where CJ McCollum will have his moments and he'll play very well, but he's not doing that consistently, and he doesn't offer you a ton all of the time. So it's just not a winning formula for them when they get to the playoffs.
I'm going to make a little bit of a bold take. I think Donovan Mitchell is closer to having a Paul George type of career where he's like, his peak is like Eastern Conference Finals, maybe not ever get to the actual finals than it is to a guy like Steph Curry, who's, one of the greatest all time. So, I don't know. I think they're going to have to get another star there. Maybe Rudy Gobert, you'd package him and get a lower tier center. And you package, another star there, but I don't know. Salt Lake City.
That's also a very odd situation for them, is the whole Rudy Gobert thing, because he's a great defensive player, but it feels like at points, it feels like he's the only defensive player. You know what I mean? And he does his job very well, but it's like, maybe that's what they need. Maybe they need somebody to add some defense to the team so that he doesn't have to do every bit of it.
Yeah. I mean,
very, very odd situation, and hopefully Danny Ainge can make a difference for them, because he did well with the Celtics as far as acquiring talent.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Kyrie Irving didn't really work out, but and even in the draft too, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. But I'm not too high on the Jazz. I still think the Suns are better. I think the Warriors are better. The Warriors are my team to come out of the West this year. I think Steph Curry just puts them over the top, but I mean, they could definitely contend. Don't get me wrong. They could absolutely contend.
So, okay, you say that the Warriors are your team to come out of the West. Who would you have coming out of the East to meet them in the finals?
I'd say the Bucks. I think KD is probably the front runner for MVP right now, especially at the 4-game stretch that he had. He's averaging about 40 a game. I still am one to think that Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player in the world, because he beat Kevin Durant in Brooklyn in a game 7. Was it game 7 or was it game 6? I think it was game 7.
I went to 7.
Yeah,
because KD made that clutch shot to send it into OT,
and then his toe was on the line.
Yeah.
So I think Giannis and just his performance in the finals in general, one of the best. I can't remember his averages right now, but he had one of the best finals performances of all time that we've ever seen, ever. I still think he's the best player in the world, and I think the Bucks. It's not like they changed. I think they got better again. A guy like Grayson Allen, who's one of the best 3-point shooters right now, in the minutes that he's getting. I think the Bucks get it, and I would love to see a Steph Curry. No KD this time, because we've seen Steph in the finals before. We've seen him lose to. We've seen him blow the 3-1 lead. That is the Steph Curry crowning moment. If Steph Curry can go and win an MVP, or not a Finals MVP, over the Bucks and over Giannis Antetokounmpo, being guarded by Chris Middleton, being guarded by Drew Holiday, and he goes off, I think he solidifies he's a top 10 player all time. But he needs this other ring, and he needs the solo MVP, Finals MVP, not an Andre Iguodala, not riding on KD's coattails to 2 championships. Steph needs to be that guy, and that's really the one knock on Steph, is that we haven't seen him be clutch in the moments he needs to be the clutchest,
the big moments, the ones that really mean something. I don't hate the Bucks take. I definitely feel like they're working through some growing pains, and early in the season it was like, okay, they'll get over this. It's still early in the season, this doesn't decide anything, and they've had those moments where they have looked like that team, that championship caliber team. They've also had those moments where it's like, I don't know, this isn't the Bucks that I know. So I'm a little bit iffy on them as far as making it back to the finals, because I do think there were several things that went their way. If I had to go with a team out of the East right now, I do like the Nets. I think that that's the safe pick. If I had to make a pick that wasn't quite as safe, a team to potentially meet the Warriors, because I would pick the Warriors to come out of the West as well.
The Hornets.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. We're some defense away from me at that point. It's bad. But I think I mean, I don't know. I like the Bulls, but at the same time, they kind of concern me because I just don't know that DeMar DeRozan can keep up the pace that he's on. So I think that they could do it, but it's going to really rely on them continuing to do what they've been doing up to this point.
I'll do you one better. I don't think the Nets get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I like the Bulls better than the Nets. Ooh. I genuinely do. Did you see that the Nets just activated Kyrie, by the way?
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
You still feel the same way, even with them getting Kyrie back.
Yeah. What is he going to do in their playoff home games?
Yeah, that is true. It's still going to be a weird situation. It's going to help getting him back when he can play in the away games and stuff like that. But outside of that, that's tough.
It's so weird. It's honestly like indescribable. Nobody's ever done this. Nobody's ever seen something like this before. A player that can only play away games, and not even all the away games either.
Yep. And it does also feel really odd that like the time that it's happening, because they have a COVID outbreak going on.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's activate him now when there's everybody getting COVID. I don't know. It's a very odd situation in the NBA currently.
I think the Nets, they were trying to wait out Kyrie and take away as much money as they could to see if he would have got vaccinated. And they finally realized like Kyrie's not going to budge. Kyrie's Kyrie. We kind of need him to win a championship. So we have to coexist with all of his antics off the court. And Kyrie stood his ground and the Nets folded. So
I heard for a little while there that they were potentially interested in trading him somewhere.
They still could be. They still very well could be.
That could be pretty interesting, I think. If you had to pick one team that you think could use him the most, where would you send Kyrie?
Sixers. Easy. The Sixers. The Sixers.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then the Nets get Ben Simmons in that package too. They can use defense from him.
It makes too much sense. It makes too much sense. Like, obviously, the Nets, because James Harden is, I believe if James Harden's hurt right now. I don't know what the injury is, but he's going to be out. They're going to need a second guy, and Ben Simmons won't be that scoring option. But this sort of allows you to, one, be better defensively, and two, have Kevin Durant just take over games, and he doesn't have to play with another superstar that's going to have the ball in his hands a majority of the time. And I don't know. I just think it makes too much sense to put Ben on the Nets. And I think it's beneficial to both teams. That's why it makes too much sense. Is because the 76ers get better. The Nets get better. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. And that probably would be my first choice. But if I had to make a different selection, I think that the Pacers are a team that are going to have to make some moves before the deadline, because it feels like they're kind of on the cusp and like they could make a run, but they just need another little something to kind of get them over that hump. So I think if maybe they could package something, maybe Miles Turner to offer some defense for the Nets, because I think that they could use a big of that caliber. And then they give Kyrie over, and then you've got Kyrie and Sabonis with the way that he's been playing this season in that offense. I mean, I think that would be stout.
Like, it's weird because there were reports that came out just this past week that the Pacers were looking to get off all their guys, Domantas Sabonis, Miles Turner, pretty much everybody there, Malcolm Brogdon, because they're on the cusp of either a rebuild or trying to contend. And it looks like they're leaning more towards rebuild. So maybe you go out and get a guy like Kyrie, who, I mean, if nothing more, will bring in revenue for you guys just in ticket sales alone. I don't know. I don't hate that.
It is a very odd situation for the Pacers right now. I had them as a team that I thought was going to be very good this year because of, them adding Rick Carlisle as the head coach. And I think that he's done a great job. I think that a lot of players are showing improvement and are showing development, especially Sabonis. I mean, he's been a great player, but now he's playing very, very well. I've seen a lot of people calling him like mini Joker. And I don't hate that comparison because that's what he plays like a smaller Jokic, not quite as skilled, but still pretty skilled. So yeah, it does feel like they're on the weird in between like fringe area where they could compete, or maybe they could just blow it all up and try again.
I think a starting lineup of Patty Mills, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, and you could put a fucking scarecrow at the 5. It doesn't matter. You could just play those 4 alone, and they will run. Patty Mills will run circles on you all day. It doesn't even matter. He's a bucket. I think that's a championship caliber starting lineup. And it's not like Kyrie's there anyway, so it's not like you could benefit from anything Kyrie, you know. But obviously he is going to come back for away games now. So
yeah, I think that's a guy that's not getting talked about enough right now is Patty Mills. And I think the way that he is playing is definitely kind of pushing the Nets to be like, okay, maybe we could, you know, send Kyrie elsewhere and get rid of him, because Patty Mills, I mean, is playing more than good enough for them to be a championship caliber team, like you said. So very odd NBA season. A lot of teams could be making moves before the deadline. I think when we start to get to that point, it's not going to be like the NFL trade deadline where it's like, oh, well, this could happen and that could happen, and then like barely anything happens. I think that there's definitely going to be some guys getting moved around.
100%. All right. And finally, we're just going to go over and pick these week 15 NFL games. There's a lot of unknowns with this week, to say the least. We don't really know which players are playing. We don't know which ones aren't playing. We're just going to shoot the shit. And hopefully I have another perfect week. And I'm really mad that we didn't record last week's picks because that was awful. So starting off with a Saturday game, it was supposed to be a Saturday doubleheader, but everything got postponed because of COVID. So we have now Saturday night, Patriots, Colts. Who you got?
And they're actually favorites, believe it or not, am taking the Colts in this one. I think that the Colts are going to have a great game. I think that they're going to be able to run fairly well on this Patriots defense. I think that this was actually, I think you saw my video, my picks for this week as far as bets. I would take the under in this game because I think it's going to be heavy running. Both teams have very stout defenses. I don't see there being a lot of passing. So I'm going to take the Colts.
I don't know. This is tough because I think that the Colts are at home. I think I'm going to go with the Patriots. I think I'm going to rock with the Patriots. This just feels like a good defensive matchup for the Patriots. And I picked against the Patriots. I thought the Bills were going to beat the Patriots 2 weeks ago, and I was wrong about that. I'm starting to get more knowledgeable about this Patriots defense. I still would take them in a Super Bowl if I'm the Packers. Don't get me wrong. I would take the Patriots in a second, in a heartbeat, over any other AFC team. But I'm going to go with the Patriots here. I'm going to go with Mac Jones. I'm going to have trust in Bill Belichick and that Patriots defense. Now, moving on, we have the Titans at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is sort of an interesting matchup if you like decent football.
This one feels odd. Like, I don't feel like any of these teams are in their best form right now. I don't feel like either of these teams are. Well, the Titans could contend, consider like if they can get some pieces back and stuff like that. The Steelers are in a very odd situation where they beat teams that it feels like they shouldn't, and they lose to teams that it feels like they should. I'm going to take the Titans in this one. I think that the Titans have just enough firepower to be able to get it done. Julio Jones is going to be playing, so they've got at least, I don't want to say they've got at least a decent receiver, because the receivers that they've had over the course of these guys being out have played very well, and I want to give them their credit. Plus that defense is playing well. So yeah, I'll take the Titans in this one.
I'm going to go opposite again. I think I'm going to go with the Steelers. I'm riding with them at home. Julio Jones is back, I believe. I don't know. Is AJ Brown back? I don't believe so.
Not yet. I think they were saying another week or two.
Yeah. So Julio Jones is going to be back. For some reason, this is more of just a gut feeling. I think that the Steelers are going to perform well. Obviously they played, they had the Thursday night game against the Vikings, in which Chase Claypool made himself look like an idiot. I think they're mad about that loss. I think they're very upset about that loss. They ended up coming back in the end, but wasn't enough. It was too little, too late. I'm going to go with the Steelers here. I'm going to go with Big Ben. I'm going to ride with that Steelers defense. My MVP pick is not looking great, by the way. Moving on, we have the Carolina Panthers at the Buffalo Bills. Who you got?
The Panthers are trending nowhere but down. I don't even know who's going to start at quarterback this week. They've got Sam Darnold coming back off of IR. They've got PJ Walker. They've got Cam Newton, who hasn't been playing well. So it's going to be a very odd situation. I'd imagine they'll try to throw Cam out there again and see what he can do. but I'm taking the Bills all day in this one. The Bills had a very competitive game with the Bucs this past week. I think they still have a very talented team. They've just got to put together some wins, and I think they can be fine.
I'm going to go with the Bills, but I'm going to go with this. I have a sneaky suspicion Josh Allen is going to struggle in this game. He's sort of been on the downhill, and this whole Bills team has sort of been on the downslope as of late. They're sitting at 7-6, I believe. They're at
he is all also on an injury report from last week where he hurt
they actually just took him off. They just took him off today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's gonna be playing hurt, but good enough to play. So I think Josh Allen has a little bit of a down game, and I like this Panthers secondary to pick him off at least twice. Moving on, we have quite possibly the worst game of all time. The Houston Texans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Urban Meyer list Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh yeah. The Houston Texans beat the Jaguars first week of the season. Kind of shocked everybody because everybody thought the Texans were going to be this huge dumpster fire, which they still are. I mean, let's not act like they're not. But I think that they're going to split the series. I think that the Jaguars go and beat the Texans this week. They're two fairly evenly matched teams at this point, I think. And interim coaches just have a very odd, good record in their first start.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to take the Jags.
I'm also going to take the Jags. The Jags are going to be, their players are going to be playing for a lot. They want to sort of stick it to Urban Meyer. Give me whatever James Robinson's Vegas odds are. Give me the over in every single one of them. Yards, touches, touchdown, everything. I want the over in everything. James Robinson's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder. This whole Jaguars team is going to be playing with a chip on their shoulders. So yeah, give me the Jags, and Darrell Bevell will get his first win as the Jaguars head coach. By the way, I'm going to put his name out there. Jim Caldwell, Shad Khan, call him up because he's been on the benches for quite a long time now, and he's done nothing but bring the fucking Detroit Lions to the playoffs 2 times, which unheard of. Next we got the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants. Cowboys, easy. That's you don't have to do more than that. And I'm sure this one's going to be pretty easy as well. Arizona Cardinals at the Detroit Lions.
Cardinals.
All right. Now we got another great matchup. The New York Jets at I almost said the Tennessee Dolphins. That's wild. The Miami Dolphins.
Dolphins in this one. I think that Tua is going to have a good game. I mean, he's been playing fairly well. A lot of people have been talking about the Dolphins' success, obviously, but I don't feel like a lot of people are talking about how well Tua has played. And I mean, he still doesn't look like this top tier quarterback or like elite or anything like that. But I think he's playing at a level above game manager right now. So against this Jets defense, give me him to do it again.
I do have to call out Pick a Side podcast though, because I saw a TikTok the other day where one of the members was saying who he would take Tua over in terms of their accuracy, and let's just say it was kind of out of pocket and kind of disrespectful. So yeah, let's just leave it at that. I'm not taking Tua over most of the NFL. All right, I'm also gonna go with the Dolphins. I think they're on a hot streak. What are they on, like a 6-7 game win streak right now?
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be 6. They're about to be 500. They're sitting at 6-7. They have a good a shot as anybody to sneak into the playoffs, which is crazy. I think Brian Flores is a tremendous head coach. He was getting shit earlier in the season. I think he is that guy moving forward in the future. We got a sort of interesting game here. The Cincinnati Bengals at the Denver Broncos. Would have never expected that this would be have major playoff implications this late into the season, earlier in the season. I would have never thought. So what you got?
Give me the Bengals to bounce back. I think this is their week to put it back together, and it seems like they do that. I was talking about how they've been lacking consistency. They'll have a bad loss or a loss that's pretty close, kind of ugly, like they did to the 49ers this past week in overtime with Brandon Ayuk scoring that touchdown. And then they'll also have a game where they blow a team out that following week or something like that. So I think that the Broncos are in for a bit of a walloping this week. I think that the Bengals win by double digits here.
I'm not going to go with my gut this time, which is a weird thing to say. My gut tells me that the Broncos are going to sneak a win, but all logic points to the Bengals are the better team. The Broncos are sitting at 7-6, but I'm not taking that to heart. I don't think they're as good as their record shows. Their record doesn't even show that they're that good, but 7-6 above 500. Yeah. I still think they're a below 500 team. I'm going to go with the Bengals. I'm going to go with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow to bounce back. I don't know how Joe Burrow's pinky is looking, but it was not looking great last time I saw it. So we'll have to check on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he played well the latter half of the
Mhm.
last game, but he did start off a little slow.
Yeah, it took him a little time to shake off that rust. Now we got the Atlanta Falcons versus the San Francisco 49ers, the Kyle Shanahan Bowl. Woo! Who you got?
I'm going to take the 49ers in this one. Coming off a big win, I think that they'll continue that streak against this lackluster Falcons defense. I think that Matt Ryan might be able to do a little bit of work considering the 49ers secondary, but that O-line is also bad. So maybe Nick Bosa gets home a lot of those touches or a lot of those snaps. So I think that the 49ers will be able to do more than enough to get a win here.
I'm also going to go with the 49ers. If I'm a team in the NFC, I don't want to play this team in the playoffs. I talked about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the last episode or the episode before that, but 49ers are a team that I don't want to see come playoff time. And I think they're heating up at the exact right time. They're going to give a team a run for their money. Sure enough. Next, we got the Green Bay Packers at the Baltimore Ravens, the Lamar Jackson-less Baltimore Ravens. Who you got?
I don't think that he's been ruled out completely yet.
I don't think he's been ruled out, but it's everything is looking like everything is looking like Huntley is going to start.
Yeah. I mean, even if Lamar Jackson was starting and he was fully healthy, I think I take the Packers here. The Packers, despite their injuries and stuff, just still aren't as beat up as this Ravens team right now. The Ravens secondary is absolutely torched. And I think that Aaron Rodgers shreds them. I think that he's going to put them in the blender this week. So give me the Packers for sure.
I'm in the same exact boat as you. No bias, no bias. I'll go one step further. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to need to obviously win out and perform well in these next 4 weeks, or overperform what he's been doing this season to have a chance at the MVP. I think this is his MVP statement game against the Baltimore Ravens. And I think he's going to get it done, and the Packers are going to get a win. Now, it's so weird that these games are so out of place because this is the Sunday night game that we're getting to, this Saints at Buccaneers, and then there's 4 games afterwards. It's so weird. So we got the Saints at the Buccaneers. Who you got, Gage?
It's tough. We beat them the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Our defense really isn't any different than when we faced them that first time. We've got Cam Jordan coming back from off the COVID list. CJ Gardner-Johnson, who was out several weeks, came back this past week, so he'll be playing again. Our defense is the same as what they faced the first time. Now, our offense, we lost Jameis Winston in that game. He played the first few snaps or whatever. We were still able to get it done with Trevor Siemian. The big kicker right now for me is that Sean Payton has COVID. He is not going to be coaching in this game. It is going to be Dennis Allen.
Yep.
But I will say, Dennis Allen, great defensive coordinator. I genuinely think he's a guy that might be getting kind of slept on as far as head coaching jobs coming up this offseason. You mentioned what's his name for the Jaguars? He was former Lions head coach.
Jim Caldwell.
Yeah, you mentioned Jim Caldwell earlier. I think that Dennis Allen could be a great piece for them to potentially look at because especially they're lacking on defense, and they've got some good pieces to work with. So I think that he would be great for them. But getting back to the game at hand, I think that the Buccaneers are still going to win this. I think that we're in a weird spot right now. I don't know that Taysom will be able to perform to the level that we need him to cook this Buccaneers defense, and the run game is going to be So yeah, Bucs.
I'm going to go with the Bucs as well for all the reasons you just said. I think moving forward, for as long as Tom Brady is with the Bucs, this is going to be a perennial split series where one team is whoever the home team is going to win. So I'm going to go with the Bucs here. They're the home team. Bucs honestly are going to win out. Let's be honest. They play the Saints, the Jets, and then the Panthers 2 times. They have the easiest schedule in the league. Moving on, I will say real quick before we move on. I think the spread right now is like 11.5. I do think the Saints will cover that. That is too high. That is a little too high.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Oh, but Taysom Hill.
I think he could do enough, at least.
That's fair. That's fair. I still think that's a little bit too high. Moving on, we have the Las Vegas Raiders heading to the Cleveland Browns on Monday at 5 p.m. Who you got?
Man.
This is a hard game to pick because Baker Mayfield might be cleared to play on Monday. I don't know. I wouldn't touch this with a bet at all. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very odd with a lot of the situations going on with COVID and everything. Because I saw OBJ tweet earlier that he tested negative also.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting. I think, I mean, the Browns running backs are still intact from what I understand. Kareem Hunt's not, but Nick Chubb will be there, and they've got good guys after him. So I think as long as they stick to that run game, they'll be able to get a lot done. Even with the quarterback situation, I'm still going to go Browns here.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Raiders. I think the Browns towards the end of the season are going to skid, and I think they're going to miss the playoffs, genuinely. This just feels like a weird game, and this is more of a gut feeling. If the Browns don't have any of their quarterbacks and they are starting Nick Mullins, definitely going with the Raiders. We saw what the Browns did against the Jets last year with no wide receivers. Imagine what they're going to do with no quarterback. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders here. Even if Baker Mayfield's starting, I'm still pretty confident in this Raiders team. They're pissed that they even have to play on Monday now, that it got moved back. So yeah, give me not Oakland. I always want to say Oakland, Las Vegas. It's so weird. Moving on to the actual Monday night game, we have the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. Who you got, Gage?
I'm taking the Vikings. I think that the Bears' performance this past week against the Packers obviously was very odd situation with all special teams and all that. And I don't think that's something that's going to repeat itself. The Bears still aren't great on offense. I think that they still have the least receiving yards of any group in the league. So I just don't see how they get it done against this Vikings team, who played a very solid game against the Steelers, despite, that kind of comeback toward the end there for them. So I think that the Vikings will win this one.
I'm going with the Vikings too. And give me both teams, both Jakeem Grant and Kene Nwangwu, I want to say his name is. Give me both of them to combine for 2 special teams touchdowns, one apiece. I'm going. That's real bold. I don't know. After watching the Packers special teams, I'm all out of whack. Now we got the Washington football team at the Philadelphia Eagles. I do want to point out this Tuesday night game is at the same exact time as Seahawks Rams, both at 7 p.m. That is weird. That is really weird. I don't know why they would lay it out. I guess it has to do with which I think they're both broadcasted on Fox. I don't know. It has to do with scheduling conflict.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna have to. So you got Washington football team, Philly Eagles.
Even though it's going to be pushed back and Washington will likely get some of their players back to be able to play in this game, I think I'm going to take the Eagles here. I don't know that Jalen Hurts will be back, but even if so, I mean, let Gardner cook.
Garner is one of those guys. I think he's going to be the next Ryan Fitzpatrick, like very much so, where he's just magic. He's just magical, and he's such a easy guy to root for. And he's just magic off the bench. I'm going to go with the football team. I'm anticipating Taylor Heineke gets back healthy. Hopefully, this game's on Tuesday, not Monday, like the Browns is. So they're more likely to get more people back. I'm going to go Washington. They had a tough loss to Dallas last week. But I just without Jalen Hurts, this offense runs through Jalen Hurts. He is a big part of it, and you can't run, I'd say, at least 33% of your offense with Gardner Minshew. I think Washington wins this, and they are kind of depleted, but I think they win it. And like I said, the Seahawks and the Rams are at the same exact time at 7 p.m. This could be a very, very interesting game. Who you got, Gage?
I am going to take the Seahawks in this one. I think that they are getting pretty fortunate with, which sounds horrible to say, fortunate with the whole COVID situation. The Rams have a lot of people out, and even by that, I mean they're probably going to get some people back by that time. I would imagine Jalen Ramsey. I mean he might have been back for the game anyway. OBJ, like I said, tested negative, so maybe they'll have some pieces back. But just based on that, I think I'm going to roll with the Seahawks. Maybe they can compete here.
I'm in the same boat. As you. Thank God Jake isn't here, because Jake would not want to hear this slander. Or no, he would want to hear this slander. Sorry. Yeah, Seahawks, I think I said this a couple weeks ago. I think they have a really good shot of getting the 7 seed in the NFC and winning out.
It's crazy.
Well, it is crazy. It's just the reason I feel that way is because I trust Russell Wilson the most out of any of the lower tier NFC teams that are contending for a wild card spot. Russell Wilson is the guy that I trust most. I'm gonna go with DK Metcalf to have a comeback game, and because he's been doing nothing pretty much all season.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna come back and put up a buck 20, maybe 2 touchdowns. So yeah, I'm fully having trust in Russell Wilson. This very well could bite us in the ass. So yeah, I'm glad we're taking this risk. Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, that is going to be it for us. We appreciate you hanging out with us throughout this episode. We had a great time recording it, and make sure to follow us on all of our socials. If you want to keep up with us when we don't have a podcast episode out or something like that, you've already listened to all of them, and you want to see whatever content we're putting out, whatever we have coming up, whatever guests we may have on in the near future, keep an eye out for that. But it is extra points for me, football fan zone for Luke. Jake isn't here, but it is Jake Maltese 3 for him. And then we've got all of our Totally Unqualified socials as well. Totally Unqualified Pod on Instagram. We've got YouTube. We do have Twitter. We're all over the place. You can follow us pretty much anywhere you can think of.
Everywhere. We are everywhere. We are also on the Overtime app, and we also host a Sunday NFL fantasy pool every single Sunday, every week up until the Super Bowl. That is no different this week. Make sure to download the Overtime app using any of the links in any of our social media bios and join our fantasy pool. We are giving away an NFL jersey of your choice to the number 1 contestant in our pool. So make sure you jump on that opportunity. Also, use code TUCrew in checkout on manscaped.com. You can save yourself 20% off your entire order. Make sure you get your lawnmower 4.0. Make sure you get your ball lotion. Make sure you get all that stuff. Make sure you're good for the holidays. And I hope you all have a great holiday season. We will see you guys in the next episode.